pleasure to welcome you to our Aviation Center. It's our pleasure to have Senator Yaw always. He's chairman of our board, in addition to being one of the forefathers of the creation of Penn College. So I hope you enjoy your day.
Here at the Aviation Center, we offer several different degrees in aviation. We offer a 2-year certificate, a 2-year Associate of Applied Science degree, and a Bachelor of Science degree as well. The goal in the first 2 years of the associate degree is to prepare students to earn their Federal Aviation Administration airframe and power plant license. Our curriculum is approved under the FAA under Part 147 and contains over 1,900 hours of instruction. The 3 topic areas are general, airframe, and power plant. These courses cover the basics to build the foundation skills that a modern aviation technician is going to need. These skills range from electrical, pneumatics, hydraulics, both reciprocating and turbine engines, aircraft composites and sheet metal structures, as well as refinishing. We also teach some of the older trade skills like wood structures and fabric covering. So we often joke with parents, if they send their students here and they don't know how to sew or iron fabric, we'll teach them. So usually the moms get a big kick out of that. The licensing exam actually consists of a oral, written, and practical examination in all 3 areas. So they do a battery of tests in order to earn their license. It's that license that allows them to work on aircraft and return them to service. The Bachelor of Science Technology degree is a 2+2 degree and really builds on those foundation skills. Students in their junior and senior years work on advanced electronics or avionics systems. Those subjects include autopilot, communication, navigation, radar, installation, and surveillance systems. Currently, we have between 75 and 100 students at the Aviation Center on the different degree majors depending on the semester. We also have transfer students from other institutions, as well as veterans seeking their FAA license and their degree. We have 5 full-time faculty members and 1 faculty member that splits his time between credit programming and our workforce development and continuing education partnership with Lycoming Engines. The job outlook for our students is bright. There's good opportunities in general aviation, the regional major airlines, and a growing business sector in aviation, and an increase in the helicopter industry. Many of our students also go on to gain a lot of good, valuable experience while they're students with us through internships. We have internships at several corporate flight departments in the Mid-Atlantic. We've also done ones with the Pennsylvania Department of Transportation and as far away as the Texas DOT. In fact, this summer we had our first intern at Pfizer Pharmaceuticals over in Trenton, New Jersey. They have a very big flight department. So on today's tour, you're going to see the dedicated Lycoming classroom. We have a 50,000 square foot hangar that'll have our newest donation in it, a Falcon F-20. We'll see the sheet metal lab, the Lycoming reciprocating engine lab, avionics, turbine, and finally our Boeing 727. That was recently donated to us by FedEx, but it was through an affiliation we have with Women in Aviation International. They were really the ones that got us together and made the connection that ultimately led to the donation.
This is a dedicated classroom that's specifically for the Lycoming engine training. What students or clients that come in here is a 4-day training class on the Lycoming engine, where they'll talk about the manufacturing, how the engine is produced. They'll talk about all the parts. They'll go through the entire internal mechanisms in the engine. They'll actually have training aids that they can show you what each of the parts and pieces look like. That is a 4-day training class, which is all in the classroom. Coupled with that, they can also take a 3-day teardown class. When they go into that teardown class, they'll actually completely disassemble and reassemble a 4-cylinder Lycoming engine. At that point, they'll get to see what the crankshaft, the camshaft, the location of all the internal parts. Also, during the reassembly, the proper procedures for reassembling the engine.
Tell me a little bit about, because some of the people aren't going to know what Lycoming Engines are or what that company is.
Well, Lycoming Engines actually is one of the major manufacturers for reciprocating engines here.
And we're located in Lycoming County.
We're located right in Williamsport, Pennsylvania.
Okay.
It's been located here since its inception. They supply reciprocating engines for aircraft all over the world.
And as part of that, we get technicians that come in to take this class really from all over the world.
Yeah, and I know that the training for these people, then a lot of people that are trained here actually go to work for Lycoming, or people that use Lycoming engines.
Definitely.
I'm not sure, are they still the largest manufacturer for general aviation or not any longer?
No,
at one time they were.
They still are.
Oh yeah.
Well, the kind of the covers on the engines, the shiny chrome parts that say Lycoming on, that's really, that's kind of neat, especially living in this area and growing up with that business being here my entire life.
And family members that have worked at Lycoming all their life too.
Oh, yeah.
Both my grandfather and my uncle worked there all their life.
Yeah. Well, it's amazing because most people don't understand that we have a manufacturing facility like this in Pennsylvania, and especially you know, in rural Pennsylvania here in Lycoming County.
You can go to all parts of the world and open up the hood of an airplane, and you'll see Lycoming right on the valve cover right there.
This is Chris Logue. He happens to be the chairman of the board of the airport authority here at the Williamsport Regional Airport. And he's also a pilot.
So this is the Penn College Aviation Hangar. It's a 50,000 square foot hangar. Our students perform maintenance on aircraft. And actually we also operate a Part 145 repair facility. So in addition to the college-owned aircraft, our students do work on live aircraft when it makes sense for the class that they're in and the practical project that needs done. So I'd like the 2 helicopters we just purchased last year as capital assets at Penn College. And then our recent donation is the Falcon 20, and we have some students over here, and you can get up inside and take a look. Senator Yaw, this is Brian Bean. He's one of our students
How are you? Nice to
in
meet
the
you.
bachelor's degree program. Brian, you want to take the senator up and explain a little bit about what you do on this airplane?
Certainly.
Great.
This is our latest edition, the Falcon 20. So we're still kind of discovering it ourselves, but
I see you're taking parts of it off.
Well, we're
trying to put them all.
reassembling.
you're
That's the
putting
goal,
them on.
Yeah. She just came in on a trailer.
Oh,
We had
okay.
the fuselage and the 2 wings came in on a separate trailer. So that's an experience for us last year, putting it together, scraping seal off.
The engines too?
Yeah, they came off, they were installed.
Yep. We contracted with a company out of Delaware. They disassembled it up in Elmira. We went up with student groups and actually helped them disassemble it. They trucked it down here and we reassembled it here in the hangar. So we're still in the stages of sealing fuel tanks and putting some of the trim on and making some final connections.
Okay. Show me around.
Our current test is the marker beacon test. This when an aircraft is flying in, it'll let you know how far away from the airport you are from the runway. That's due to the instrument landing system. So we make sure it's accurate, and that's working on both high sense, low sense,
Yeah.
lights, tones, everything in the cockpit. So if you join me inside, we'll run through a test for you.
Sure.
So now what Jake's doing, he's simulating the antenna locations as you're flying in
Okay.
with our test box. So you can hear, right now it's the outer tone. And he's testing to make sure it's picking that up. Switch to middle. And the different tones at different locations.
Okay.
So we make sure it works at the proper frequency, the proper tone, proper light comes on. On the screen here. Jake, what decibel are you at? You're up high? Okay. Yeah, unfortunately right now we have an issue. The light's not coming on for the proper location. The outer is an amber, the middle is a blue, and the inner is a white. So we should have a light here and the tone behind me. We don't have that, so what we'll do is we'll go through a troubleshooting system,
Okay.
figure out where the issue is.
Is that what you're
Here
looking
we go,
for?
yeah. Light and tone for that one. Yes, for last year, and this came in for us. It was an excellent learning experience because as it came in, we were scraping sealant and applying sealant. That was during our fuel systems class, so that worked for it. I forget the other class that was going on, but they were able to do more work on this. So putting it together was a great learning experience for college.
Wow. What do you plan to do when, are you in a 4-year program?
Yes. Yep, I'm in my 3rd year.
What do you want to do, or where do you think you're going to go?
I want to work corporate. I hear different guys who go to corporate, and it's the nice part of that is you work on the same aircraft, so you get to know it, you're familiar with it, and you have communication with the same pilots. So if their style's the same, so if they have an issue, you kind of build that cohesion. Like, okay, I know what's going on. I can look here. You're familiar with the records of the aircraft.
What's the, if you know, what's the placement rate coming out of this institution?
It's very high. Exactly, I'm not sure, but I know it's over 95%.
Over 95%?
Yes, it's even excellent. Because our instructors, they're in the field, they have connections, and we have internships throughout. They often lead to full-time positions afterwards.
Well, you have an amazing collection of planes of different kinds.
Yeah.
Different types, and
we work on a variety, so we have, this summer I interned in South Carolina, working on MU-2s, and I was impressed that through my schooling,
Yeah.
I didn't experience anything that was totally new to me. I experienced it in some way, like, okay, I can relate back
You didn't
to
feel
this.
like you were lost?
No, not at all.
Okay.
It was a very thorough education. So, and both Jake and I interned at the same location.
Yeah.
So all the guys were impressed with us, the work, the students they put out. The director of maintenance actually asked me to have Bill send out an email that they want 5 more.
Wow.
Yeah. Yep. So we made a name for the college, and that's just the benefit of us being around. So
Very good.
I'm very pleased with that.
Wow. I mean, that's a beautiful plane.
Yep. So if we kind of walk by here, you'll at least be able to look in and see the students that are in the sheet metal lab. They're doing their sheet metal projects. They'll be learning the art of accurately riveting and unriveting different parts.
Hi.
Hey, Bill. We're going to swing through here.
Okay.
Just kind of get a chance to see the students. Bill, you want to explain what projects they're working on?
Absolutely. It's a structural repair class. The students right now, most of them are working on a project that they're essentially building a representative of a wing.
Wing, yeah.
And then later on, they're going to do repairs to the wing. So this would be a flush repair. This would be a surface repair. And then, of course, a spar reinforcement repair. Access panel. So a lot of these projects represent exactly what they'll do on their aircraft.
Just at a smaller scale.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Wow. It's impressive.
So this class has been in session right now for about a week and a half, and most of them are right now laying out this. They've already done a lot of practice in the riveting aspect, learned about laying out the project, so they're in the process of constructing the whole thing.
Senator Yaw, this is Ryan Gibson.
All right.
And
How are you?
Tyler Burkett. There's 3
Hi, Tyler. How are you doing?
students in our bachelor's degree program. And guys, why don't you explain to the senator what you're doing here?
Turn the volume down. So what we have right now,
The first thing you can tell us is what is avionics?
it's like electronics but aviation. Anything electrical and computer controlled that helps fly an airplane or helps the pilot navigate or communicate in any way.
No. I mean, no, that's helpful to me. Because I hear about avionics and it's like, okay, what is that?
That includes things like weather radar, autopilot systems, even down to a small communication radio with just a little clicker button on it. That's all considered avionics.
Okay.
All the way up to the full autopilot that can land and take off on a plane.
Okay, I'm sorry I distracted you. So
Sure. That's good. This is a Garmin G1000 simulator. It's not a computer program. It's actually 2 navigation systems built the same Garmin that does like automotive GPS. But we actually did, the left one is called a PFD or primary flight display, and that is what displays your engine instruments. It takes place of all the round dials that used to be in there.
Okay.
Puts it all on one screen for us. So another version of that is flip this switch, and that's actually what it looks like when it's running.
So that takes the place of a lot of the gauges and all those things that you used to.
Correct. It can
Really?
take an entire instrument panel and then put it onto a screen. And it'll have things like alerts. It'll have, besides like these things here, this is your altitude, how high you are, your airspeed. This is a compass, and it points to wherever like you want it to go. And then this is all your engine instruments. So it's, like I said, it'll take a big panel like this, put it on a screen like that.
And this is your
This here?
yeah.
That's your attitude.
Yeah.
So if you're like 10 degrees up or 10 degrees down, let's flip back over here. Well, I'll show you this. This bug here, it'll turn the aircraft. It's called a heading bug. It's just like a compass. If we want it to point to east, which is 90 degrees on the globe, we just turn it to 90 degrees and it'll go up the left 90 degrees. And if this was hooked up to an autopilot system, which this is...
So in other words, the plane would be flying like that?
Right. Essentially, yeah. Yep, it'd be banking and then it would level itself.
Okay.
If this is hooked up to an autopilot system, we'd actually see the plane doing it all on its own.
Right.
And this would update itself with what it needs to. So if I switch back, I'll show you a flight plan that we had just put into it. You guys have great timing coming in here. So right now here's KIPT. This is Williamsport where we're at.
Right.
and I had it go to Lock Haven, or the flight plan as the plane's just wandering around. If it goes to Lock Haven, then I would go to Philly International,
Philadelphia.
and then I would go to Trenton Mercer Airport.
Okay.
And if this had an autopilot, follow that whole, follow the whole flight plan on its own. We wouldn't
Okay.
have to tell it to do anything except that.
So, Senator, this is Trevor and Emmy.
Hi, Trevor. How are you?
Good.
This is Senator Fulmer.
Nice to meet you, Trevor.
How are you doing?
I'm Emmy.
Hi, how are you?
How are you?
Nice to meet you.
You want to explain a little bit about what you're doing here?
Yes. So what we're doing here is we have just a basic comm system set up. This is called a KX-155A, and what we're testing here is the squelch inside the comm, which when the pilot is flying along, he'll have his headphones plugged in, and basically what happens if a signal comes in that's too high, something that would come through the headphones really strong. Basically what the squelch does is it takes it and it shuts it off. It just shuts off all noise, just so it's not overbearing through the headphones. And so what we have here is, this is our frequency generator, and so it's basically putting out a signal that would simulate, when an airplane is in the air, it's getting a signal coming in, and so that's basically what that does. It comes into the comm in the back. We have our test panel here. This just acts as an audio panel, so that way we can hook up the headphones to the radio. And so here what we're doing is we have our level set with the frequency generator. We have, that's our signal output, and then we also have our modulation for the output. This is our frequency, so we set this frequency to 126.5, that's what the manual says to do. And then here we have our signal also set to 126.5. So, and then we come over here, and this is our antenna output. This is basically the power that would be simulated coming out of the antenna. So we just go over here to amplitude, that puts us right there. And what we can do is, if you'll hear it through the headphones once it comes on, it's supposed to open, the squelch in the manual says it's supposed to open at negative 106 dBm. And it opened, so it opened early. And what we can do is, I'll turn that off. There we go. Okay, so it closed at 109.7. It opened at 10, it opened at 108. So when it opens. There we go. So it opened at 107. The manual calls for 106 plus or minus 6 dB. So this radio is actually within limits. So that's good. And then we test to see when it closes.
So this is an actual radio, like would be in a plane?
Mm-hmm. Yes, this is
small plane.
That's exactly what I have in my supernote right there. Yeah.
Okay.
If you look in here, actually, if you see the opening on the actually no, see those two radios?
Yeah.
That's basically what we have here, but a different model.
Okay.
So you see how it's how they have the two separate. That's basically what this is right here, and this would be out of an airplane, yes.
Okay.
So you actually have a comm side and then also a nav side. So you're able to set to nav frequencies, and that'll give you like headings, your VOR stuff, which just points you into a direction really. And then you also have your comm frequencies here.
Okay.
So this is like a multi-function radio here.
What class are you, both of you? What year?
Avionics.
Both juniors.
Both junior, 4-year program? What do you plan to do when you leave here?
I'm trying to keep an open mind, but I'd like to work on helicopters. But I'm just trying to keep all my options open for right now. But it's not
Okay.
too
What about you?
I'd like to go into the corporate side. It was funny actually. Ryan, who you just talked to, he was working at a hangar across the field that I was working at. So him and I were working at the same airport, basically doing the same thing, but for two separate companies. So.
Okay. Where this summer?
Yes.
That was on
where were you?
your internship?
Yeah, I had an internship with Johnson & Johnson.
Okay.
And so I was working in their corporate hangar with them. So. And that's what I hope to be doing when I graduate. So hopefully they have an opening.
Okay.
Are the internships required, or is that a voluntary?
It's a voluntary thing. I mean, they can meet a graduation requirement, but they have other ways of doing it. Again, it just depends on the student, what their ultimate goals are, is whether an internship makes sense. Where it does, we try to find as many as we can.
It sounds to me like their internships are all over. I mean,
they really like when they're from here too. Everywhere that I've taken a tour of, they're like really happy when I say I'm going here. Like I
really
to other schools, so yep. We have a more like thorough degree in everything than most other aviation.
Let me ask you this: how did you find out about Penn College and the avionics program that they have here?
I was filling propane for someone and they were wearing a shirt for here, so that was actually why. It was kind of a weird story, but I was looking for an aviation school, so that's how I found it. But just working in a hardware store, and I found someone who happened to be wearing a shirt for here. So.
Has it been what you thought it would be, or?
It's better than I thought it was, for sure.
This is a Pratt Whitney JT8D. This is a turbojet engine, and this is one of exact copy of the 3 engines that are on the Boeing 727. This is a real popular aircraft engine for Boeing 727s, 737s, DC-9s. This has been on, variants of this has been on a lot.
So they get to work right on the real deal.
So it's nice they can actually work on it here and kind of be able to see it in the open, because when it's out on the airplane, it's a different story. For one, it's up in the air, but two, it's not as accessible. Here's a good place to learn how the fuel control works, talk about it, and then go out there and make the adjustments. So we have some other turbine engines in here as well. These are some smaller helicopter turbine engines that are centrifugal flow versus the axial flow. We'll go out and see the 727. The Women in Aviation International, when they retired their fleet, they started donating them. And we're fortunate enough to get this version. And actually, Penn College students came up with the graphic design.
Okay.
So we told FedEx we'd take care of their logo. And when they started getting a little older, and just from the weather, our students wound up designing the graphic that you see on here, and our staff actually put a vinyl wrap on the entire aircraft from the lead edge of the wing to the nose, and then also up the tail. So we kept the FedEx logo on there as well, and they look appropriate, but also got some good student projects out of it.
That's awesome.
You notice the logo up there on the tail, the degrees that work?
Yeah, there you go.
We trademarked that.
You did?
Yeah, that's a trademark of Penn College.
This is impressive, man.
Yeah. So this is sturdy, but it does still. All right, so just grab hold of the railing.
Wow.
So again, this was set up like a car. Well, it started off life for Eastern Airlines. It was a passenger jet for years. FedEx purchased it and turned it into a freighter. So as part of that, they cut a large hole in the side and put a big hydraulic door in so that they can load their loading containers. They bring it into the roller deck and they can spin it around, and it goes back on that modular track system and it locks in. So they can fill this whole thing up with containers. Of course, to the right is the cockpit. James, you want to explain to the centers a little bit about what you're doing in here and what you're testing?
Yeah, we're kind of just fooling around with the comm radios a little bit. On this one down here, we found frequencies for the Williamsport ground station and everything. So, I mean, there's not a lot of activity, so you don't really hear too much over that one, but they have a weather frequency that you can switch to. And then my friend Sean here has one of our mobile test units to test different avionics systems that we can test a lot of the different instrument-aided landing systems and things like that on the aircraft. So
right now we were just doing like it's called a marker beacon test. These lights here. The outer light route. When you're flying in for an approach to land, the outer marker's like 5 miles away from the end of the runway. Then as you get closer, the inner marker will light up, or the middle marker will light up. That's about half a mile away from the runway. And then right on the numbers is the inner marker. So it'll do like an audible tone when you're flying over each marker. Sometimes it's kind of hard to, but you hear that at 400 hertz. That's when this outer marker light will come on, and you'll hear the tone.
Okay.
All right.
So that's what they'll be hearing in the approach, and then 1300 hertz when they get a little closer.
Okay.
And then that's when they're the closest.
Okay.
So it lets them know, like, right when they're there, if it's an IFR approach. Or any approach for that matter.
They actually flew this plane into
Yeah, about how long? 5 years ago?
Yeah, I think it is. Yeah. They made a delivery in Allentown and flew it here. One of the things that I've asked some other people, or we'd like to know, the Aviation Caucus, is that, I mean, how'd you find out about this institution? What brought you here? Where are you from?
I'm from outside of Hershey.
Okay, so Pennsylvania.
My neck of the woods.
His neck of the woods.
I'm from, it's like, heard of King of Prussia, Pennsylvania?
Yes.
It's maybe 15 minutes outside of that.
Everybody here has heard of the King of Prussia Mall.
Yeah,
Come on,
huge,
I mean, you know, we're not that far out in the sticks.
Big, yeah. Well, I go to work and people don't know what I'm talking about because I live in Pennsylvania, but I work in Delaware. And they're like,
Yeah.
where are you from? But yeah, King of Prussia. I always knew I wanted to work with my hands, like kind of technology and mechanical things. But I was going to do automotive, but I didn't see any room for me to really gain like a nice knowledge base of, you know, what I want to know.
Yeah.
I don't know. Aircraft is interesting, so, and this is the only school really around here that offers any type of aircraft maintenance education.
It's interesting. I mean, we, you know, want to train people from Pennsylvania, and you're both from Pennsylvania.
Mm-hmm.
You know, unfortunately, you probably, excuse me, are not going to stay in Pennsylvania for jobs, but, you know, maybe we can do something with the Aviation Caucus and make it more aviation friendly in Pennsylvania.
Well, that was the whole purpose of that.
The sales tax.
Sales tax.
Yeah.
I mean, that was making us totally uncompetitive as far as the working on and maintenance of aircraft.
Yeah. What happened is Pennsylvania taxed repair work on aircraft.
Oh.
So, in parts and things like that. Other states do not, and actually I think we found out that some of the state's own planes we were sending out of the state
To get worked on.
to be maintained.
Yeah, that's what they do in Delaware. A lot of people who are based in New York or Pennsylvania, they keep their planes hangared in Delaware because there's no tax.
Yeah.
So it's a lot cheaper for them, I guess. But
Well, we tried to change some things like that.
Well, actually, see that, and that won't actually change because since we did that, and the repercussions. I mean, the people that were opposing that bill was trying to make it look like we were just trying to keep rich guys flying around in their planes for free, and they didn't even look at the careers that were behind. You know, a plane needs maintenance, a helicopter needs maintenance.
Yeah.
Am I right?
all the time.
That's right.
Safest form of travel. So
And it's
all
a
because
great
of
career.
maintenance.
This is not minimum wage.
No.
You guys are gonna make, and rightly so.
I hope so,
It's a good career.
You're talking about wages, he's smiling.
I hope so. I hope it turns out good. I'd like to live comfortably.
Well, we've been joined by Senator Fulmer. I'm really glad you could make this and experience some of the things that we have here. And I don't know, we've seen a few planes. What's your impression?
Well, I'm impressed. I mean, I was like, wow. I mean, the only word I can think of is awesome. You have a great institution. The students that I was able to interact with is they come here, they get their career, they get jobs right away.
At least one from your county.
That's
too.
right. I actually met one from Lebanon County, and
we planted him.
Yeah, that's right. And then not only that, you're located in a really beautiful area of the state. So I mean, they're gonna get a career. You have a great institution. I'm just totally impressed.
We have a 95 or 94% placement rate coming out of this program. So our whole idea is to train Pennsylvanians to hopefully stay in Pennsylvania.
Well, we have to make sure that happens.
Yeah, with the aviation, that is something that we need to work on through the caucus or whatever we can do.
You got all these bright young people coming here, and you're doing a great job in educating them and training them. And we got to make sure they stay here and not go someplace else. But hey.
Yeah, and I noticed talking to them too when you ask them about where they plan to work or what they have in the future. They all smile when you talk about the salary they think that they're going to get.
And rightly so, and that's awesome, and that's what makes America great. And again, this institution is helping filling
very vital needs that we're forgetting about overall. Not everybody has to be a teacher. Not everybody has to be a psychologist and lawyer. No offense. But
well, you're right.
But I mean, here is filling those much needed careers, type of technical jobs that are really well paying, and they're great careers that they can enjoy the American dream with.
Well, it takes some really bright people to operate some of this stuff and really get into it. So you know, you're right. Everybody doesn't need the soft type of what I would consider college education, but what they get here is it's amazing, and they can work with their hands. And we've heard it from some of the students. You know, they wanted to do something where they could work with their hands and still have a great job. And I think that we've tried to accomplish that here.
You educate very bright young people, but I have to say something too, and I don't have to embellish this. You probably have the best institution in the country. I think it would be really hard pressed to find a better school to do what you guys do here at Penn College. I mean, this has to be the place.
Well, thank you, and we heard that from some of the students too, as to why they came here. So,
well, yeah, we heard the one that when they go out interning, they go like they're really glad they're from Penn College.
Yeah.
So. You're like the Harvard of technical schools, you know.
We try.
There you go.
We try.